Yo, guys, you know who that is? That's Tyler McAllister, founder of Fusion Power. The other side, keynote speaker at SolarCon. If you guys don't know this guy, be back in 60 seconds. You'll find out more. Let's go. We are live. Let's go. We are back on a special edition SolarCon live stream. I am a Solar Joe, and we are going live from the Solar Objections Facebook group, LinkedIn, YouTube. So if you guys are watching right now, go put in the comments where you were watching from. But guys, today we have an amazing guest. If you guys don't know Tyler McAllister, you're gonna know who he is. He's been a door knocker for the last 17 years. The founder of Fusion Power, going to be keynote speaker at SolarCon. He's the chief visionary officer at Fusion Power. But Tyler, I know you're super busy. Thank you so much for being on, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Joe.
I appreciate you and coming on here and dropping some value. Guys, if you're watching right now, get in the comment section, say what's up to Tyler. And we're going to be doing a little special here. Tyler has offered to offer group value. So guys, get in there, ask some questions. Tyler is a experienced guy when it comes to door knocking, when it comes to solar sales. I see him on stage doing a role play, door knocking role play, and he killed it up there. So he definitely knows his stuff. If you guys want him to handle objection, go ahead, put in the objection in there. He'll get in it. But Tyler, is that cool with you? You want to do a little bit of answer some questions and objection handling?
I love it. It's fun stuff.
All right, let's go, baby. So go ahead, guys, get in the comments. I'm going to start off first to get in here and let get you started before, because I know you've been door knocking for 17 years, and you got into the solar industry. Can you just talk a little bit about like what you did before solar and how the transition was getting here?
So it actually started way back in 2006. I was going to go do pest control with my best friends, and I ended up going out for the summer. They all quit right in the middle of the summer and left me hanging. So I was out here in Phoenix, 2006, selling door to door in the heat. I'm from Idaho. The heat was killing me. And so I was like, man, this sucks. Ended up finishing out the summer with pest control. And I was like, man, I'm never going to do that again. That was hard by myself. I'm going to go home, go to school and get a real job. So the summer ended. And then my brother-in-law had done alarms, and he's like, hey man, how much money did you make this last summer? I was like, not very much. And he had made six figures, and between finishing pest control and launching into going into the fall, I ended up getting married. And so my buddy was like, hey, come on out with me, let's go do alarms. And I was like, okay, I'll have a place to live, just got married, and I'll have a job. This kind of solves all my problems, plus all my buddies are going out. So I ended up going out and doing alarms in North Carolina with Apex Alarm back in the day. Sat in on recruiting appointments with Todd Peterson, and he was just very close and in touch at that time. The company was growing. And I learned something about myself that I didn't know, is that I'm actually a really good salesman. And I didn't think that would be the case because I'm a little bit more introverted. I always thought the good salesmen were the the outgoing, happy, crazy, just like loud personality type people, and that's not really me. And so, but what I found out is that people just want to be talked to like people, and they want to trust who they're working with. And so that led me into doing solar all the way from that point till 2014. At which point that was my last summer, and then I transitioned into solar in 2015, and never looked back. So that was kind of my path to where I am today.
Actually, it's very similar to me. I've been doing a door to door for the last 17. I started in door to door 17 years ago, and started in solar in the beginning of 2016. So you're more experienced than I am, man. Good stuff.
Right on.
But that's some of the similarities there. We already got questions jumping. Is it okay if we just kind of go all over the place? There's not really a straight line forward here.
Let's do it.
All right, first, let's say what's up to everybody. We got Facebook. You said, "What's up, Joe?" Said, "Let's go." We got Facebook. You said, "What's up, Tyler?"
What up?
All right, so we got a objection from Imran Khan after he says, "Hello, Solar Joe." He wants to know, how do you handle this objection? What happens if it's raining, Tyler? How does solar work?
If it's raining, and they ask that question, and they're worried about not getting power that day.
You're at the door and you're knocking, and they're like, you're like talking about solar, like, "Hey, I don't want to go solar. It rains. What am I going to do when it rains?"
Yeah. So what you want to do on those, in any objection, you want to look at what's behind that. The person is really afraid of just living in their house in the dark, and like, okay, I'm signed up for this solar program, and what have I got myself into? It's raining now and all my lights are out. And that's really where that concern is from. And so you just got to understand where they're coming from on that. You just let them know, oh, you're always tied to the grid. If for any reason, your solar system's not pumping out the power that you need, you're always tied to the grid. In fact, you won't even know, like, your lights don't even flicker if you're going to use power from the grid or from the solar. And yeah, your solar production definitely drops when it's raining outside. But don't worry, you're never living in the dark. You just build the confidence behind it.
100%.
Would you say that's the reason people are going to ask that question? Because what they're really concerned about, they're not worried about the rain. They're worried about living a life in the dark. And is this power source that you're offering me dependable? Because they know that it's covered up sometimes. And so you just speak to it.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes they hear something from a neighbor or something they Googled one time, and they just put that in their brain. That's what their biggest worry is. That's the thing. We get objections from ones that really make sense to ones that are just, and we have to be able to answer it the same way. Let them know that, that's a good question. Some homeowners do have that question, right?
Yeah. But also on top of that, it's, you want to clarify the objection, because it's really a question. And so before I would even jump into what I would want to say, is I really want to know where their fear is coming from, because this is a customer coming from a point of fear. Is like, well, what if something happens here? And so I'd want to ask, hey, that's a really good question. Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Like, what is your concern about the rain? And so you just kind of open it up for them to say, well, I'm worried about living in the dark. Or they might say, my friend had a leak on his roof because, they went solar X, Y, and Z in this company. So you really want to make sure that you're speaking to whatever that is behind that concern. So ask a question into it, let it breathe, let it open up, and slow down a little bit. You don't want to mow over these things and just be like, these are trophies, I'm just going to smash these out, because you could be completely disconnected. You're thinking you're killing it, but you're going way down the wrong lane. So ask questions before you jump into solutions.
I like this. Let's keep doing. Let's hit some more objections. Let's just do random objections and kind of go in detail how you would answer it, why you would answer it, and why that's your perspective. Guys, help me out. Let's go. Get some more objections in here. Tyler is ready to handle them. All right, so I'm just doing a random one that comes up here. Objection. My neighbor said he has 2 bills now since he got solar. Why would I want to get 2 bills, Tyler?
Yeah, that's a good question. So your concern is that those 2 bills are going to be more expensive than the one that you have now?
Well, I just didn't think about it, but I already have the 1 bill. Now I'm going to add another bill. Like, I don't want to add more bills. I want to get rid of bills.
Yeah. So people are going to go solar to reduce their overall cost, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so what we're going to accomplish with you today is to make sure that if you go solar, that your total out-of-pocket cost for electricity is a lot less than it is now. And when we sit down with you, we'll look at what your goals are. But the number one thing is I know that I'm not going to earn your business today unless the end result is you're paying a lot less for power. And if you were paying a lot less for power, let's say you had a small utility bill and a small solar bill, and those together were way less than what you're paying now, would you say that would be a win?
Oh, you sold me. That makes sense to me now. Right.
Yeah.
Perfect. Let's keep it going. That was perfect. I got some objections coming in from the fans out there. Nah, from the audience watching. Facebook user said, what if the homeowner says solar is for liberals?
Solar's for liberals. Okay. Again, I'm just going to ask a question to that. Like when you say solar is for liberals, what do you mean?
It's for that, the clean energy, home, the environmental people. That's who wants solar.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. What we found is that people that actually like to save money are going solar. And in fact, so let's give a little context here. Are we in a liberal state or are we in a conservative state?
Let's go with conservative state. Yeah.
Okay. Arizona, right? Nobody goes solar here to save the planet. And so for one, what we need to do is just kind of reframe where this person's mindset is at. Cause I think, let's put a little context on this person that would say this. They're uneducated completely on solar. They've probably never looked at the economics of it. And they just feel like solar is for those green whack jobs that are eating granola, living in Oregon or whatever.
Yes.
And so we say, oh, hey, I totally get where you're coming from. But in fact, a lot of people out here are going solar. Do you know what the number one reason people are going solar is?
Why?
Is to save money. And what we found is if it makes sense for everyone, you're paying your taxes, right?
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah. So everybody that's paying taxes, they're throwing a bunch of money into this pot, and everyone that's allowed to go reach their hand in there and pull as much out as they can and throw it up on the roof and get cheaper power. Those are the families that it's making a lot of sense for. So anyway, what I'm doing today is really simple. I'm going to transition out of it, right? So I'm just going to kind of reframe. I want them to feel heard. I don't want them to feel stupid for the objection. But just, and then notice how I'm trying to take control back with a question and kind of calm it down. Hey, do you know the number one reason people are going solar? What it's for? So it's to save money and dependability. So then I'm going to talk about the story that if they're conservative, they hate big government. They hate the overreach of government. They hate the policy and the cost of government continuing to rise. So we're going to use that story as the enemy or the bad guy in this story. And then the hero is obviously going to be the solution, which is solar. There's no other alternative to go. So you want to understand your audience. What is the enemy going to be in that story? And it's, what is that person pushing against in their current life? And it's big government, big costs, all that. If you can wrap up that story, you're bringing all the emotion that they feel from those experiences. They're watching the news all the time, yelling at the TV, getting super. If you can pull that emotion into your pitch or your process, you're just tripling your ability to move this person, because we got to move these people with emotion. We can't come in with logical statements. Logical statements, are just dead ends to helping anyone move forward. So just relate.
The bottom line is both liberals and conservatives are going solar, right? That's just everybody's going solar. It doesn't matter what party you belong to. Facebook, you said, I just had this discussion. I have far more Republicans going solar and far more rejection from the liberal side. So it can go either way. There's no rhyme or reason for it, right? Raj Umar said, hi. All right, so we got a couple of objections that came in here. Where is it? How are you addressing the pay less and save in markets where the electricity rates are low and it's bill swap and the homeowner pays very little taxes where they may have to pay more for solar? Does that still make sense for the homeowner to go solar?
I have a question into that. Can you sell them solar at the same price as they're paying for utility?
So that's the key. Is like they're saying that's going to be more to go solar than actually they're paying the utility in the beginning. Probably after a while, it'll start to change.
I wouldn't like to sell that customer, but if that's
also future protection, right? So if you know you're going to go solar one day and the numbers are going to make sense, why give any more to utility than you have to? You might as well start paying off your solar system, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get ownership versus renting every month. You've got an ownership payment that's equity into your house.
It's like either you're going to be able to take a taxi or you're going to be able to own your car. Eventually, it's going to make sense, right?
Yep.
All right, another objection coming in here. Hot and ready here. Facebook user wants to know, objection. Solar's getting cheaper. I'll just wait until it gets cheaper. What do you think, Tyler? They also love this, guys. Thanks, Joe and Tyler.
Yeah. So do they really think solar's getting cheaper? And do you really think solar's getting cheaper? So when you guys are getting these objections, I would say go home and study these questions. Is that really happening? Do you guys feel like that's happening in the marketplace? Because as someone that's actually buying the equipment, that is 100% not true. We cannot buy equipment today that at the same cost that we were buying it last year at. And if all you guys have to do is go look at the stock market, look at the cost of these publicly traded companies like Solar Edge and Enphase, their stock is going through the roof because their product is extremely hard to find, and solar is growing at an exponential rate. So for one, it's not true. But two, if people are saying that solar is cheaper now, they're just going to wait to get solar later. The reality is they might think that the solar is getting better, but the price per watt is getting more and more expensive. And so one thing that we want to do is we want to build a lot of urgency into this to this customer and help them understand the business sense. So you need to kind of pull the curtain back on this, and we have to directly challenge this customer statement, but we don't want to enter a fight or flight conversation. And so one of the great ways to contradict somebody's statement is by asking permission. And so one, acknowledge what they say. Hey, I totally hear what you're saying, Mr. Customer. What we're finding is completely different. Do you mind if I share with you what we're seeing happening on our side? And then they'll say, sure. And by them giving you permission to kind of pull back the curtain is, here's why the reality is, and then here's why solar is getting more and more expensive today. So you got to go back and you got to have like 3 to 4 legitimate points on why solar is getting more expensive today. You're going to talk about the cost of freight over the water has gone up 500%. It used to be $3,000 a container. Now it's $20,000 a container. And we're going to talk about the tax incentives being renewed. Therefore, these huge utility companies are coming in and they're safe harboring massive quantities of solar panels. So they have them when these projects are happening down the road. And that's taking product out of the market. So it's really, really hard for companies to get hands on product right now. So what you really want to do, for one, is get educated on the reality of these situations. You don't want to blow past these objections and then just go home at night and not educate yourself. So if you can come from a place of confidence, because I've had these objections and done complete U-turns, and people are like, oh, okay, like I shouldn't be sleeping on this. We're going to talk about, all the things that are pushing the cost of solar up. And we're not producing a lot more of this product. It's just getting harder and harder to get, and more people are trying to grab at it. And so the reality is the cost of this stuff is just going up. Anyway, anything to add to that, Joe?
That's great. The only thing I like to add is that once you have enough roof space to get all the electricity you need or want, why give any more money to utility? That's how I always look at it. Like, you have all the electricity you want. What are you waiting for? You're not going to be able to get more than you need.
Yeah.
All right. So Facebook user, I'm going to keep going. You're doing great, man. Appreciate you. This one's a little bit outside the box one, I guess. But I got an objection one time where the customer said that they didn't want to pay high unnecessary dealer fees. So don't, I guess. I don't know why you don't have to force them to pay dealer fees, but you want to answer that one?
In that case, I would just ask them what they want. So I would just isolate what they really. So, hey, I totally get it, but it sounds like you guys are interested in going solar. And they're like, yes, okay. What options appeal to you the most? Is it something that you want to finance, or is this something that you want to pay cash for? And just kind of narrow it down. And if they say, well, we want ownership, but we don't want these dealer fees, in that case, you can do a Sunrun prepaid, where there's no dealer fees. It's it's a really, really good deal to the customer. Or you can do a cash option, or you can do a top CU. It's a credit union option that we have. It's a super, super low dealer fee. It's one of the best products in the market right now. And so you just kind of want to pull back the curtain and say, hey, because we are X, Y, and Z in this market space, we have access to a lot of options. We don't have to give you guys a really high dealer fee to get you into solar. We actually have, XXX option right here. What is it that you guys so far have seen that you liked, or what is it that you guys have not liked? And then just let them follow that process down and narrow it in.
All right, bro. We got an emergency objection we have to handle. This guy has the homeowner on the phone. Actual live answer of an objection. Come on, answer my question, bro. I'm on call with the homeowner right now. All right, here we go. From Raja on the phone with the homeowner. How do we deal with municipal electricity companies for the homeowners to give them a cheaper rate than the power company? You work Texas, right?
Yeah, I'm familiar with Texas.
Houston area, maybe.
Yes. Yep. I sold out there. I sold alarms out there. So how do you deal with that? So in order for that customer to get those rates, which I've dealt with those customers, they've gone past. So they've signed up for those cheap rates, and then they just don't pay attention to it because power companies are really boring. People don't want to keep going back and checking and renewing their plans, and they get once they fall off that contractual rate on that plan, then they get put on these really, really high rates, and if they're not paying attention, they're going to get gouged by those utility companies. And so they have to constantly just be spending their time and their resources to make sure that they're not getting bait and switched on these rates after these contracts expire. And so just get on a really good plan with solar and be done with it, for the next 20, 25 years or for the rest of your life. Just jump out of the rat race. So to me, that's just a big rat race. The utility companies are moving around. Their rates are going to keep going up over time like everyone else. And if you're not watching that super close, you're just going to get caught eventually. And it happens time and time again. So just jump out while you can.
Perfect. Made a little smiley face there. You want to do a couple more objections, random ones I throw at you? And we're going to go into the questions a little bit. But this is actually pretty fun here. What if you get a homeowner who says, you know what, Tyler, it sounds great, but I never even heard of your company. How do I know I can trust you guys?
Yeah, no problem. So that's one of the things that you have to do in the house really well is build credibility behind who you are and what you're doing. And I can answer this for my company, but I don't know who all of you guys are working for. And a lot of you guys are just starting your businesses and you're trying to get a presence and maybe you don't even have a presence. But what you can do is tie yourself into the brands that you guys are selling and the names of your panels, the name of, your financing company. Good Leap just went public for $12 billion. You can look at Solar Edge and Enphase. I oftentimes show people the ticker symbol on the stock market and say, hey, here's these products. These companies are, multi-billion-dollar companies, X, Y, and Z. And I tie myself and the product to something bigger than myself. We're a pretty big presence in Phoenix, Arizona. We have a lot of Google reviews. So it's super easy for us to pull up we have a geographical map of the whole area and we just have thousands and thousands of pins. And so we can zoom out and just show them, hey, that's a great question. We have a ton of customers here. We're a local family-owned company and we've done thousands and thousands of customers out here. And we zoom into their current neighborhood and we just show them like, here's the people that are currently installed out here. If we can have references, we'd be happy to have you guys talk to these people. But they're really afraid of getting taken. They're really afraid of, jumping into a company that's no longer going to be around to service them or take care of them. And so what you want to do is, if you can, is just tie yourself to the things that are bigger than you around where you are. Anything to add to that, Joe?
That's great, man. That was beautiful.
I used to sell Sunrun. We don't sell a lot of Sunrun anymore, but the Property Brothers have a bunch of YouTube videos where they're endorsing Sunrun. That was super good for customers. And you can do the same thing with all of the loan products. There's a ton of famous people and celebrities that have gone solar, and you can tie all those things down into the products that you're selling. And you look at the market share that Solar Edge has is huge, and you can just let them know like, hey, this is the gold standard in the industry right now. And then, just sell off of names that are very well established and people, and, that you've done business with. Obviously, refer to friends and family. And I always have really good customers that have had really good experiences, and ask them if they're okay to take a phone call. If you guys would be an advocate for our company, since you guys have had a good experience, and then just throw them a bone once in a while for helping you out.
Perfect. I'm going to keep moving along, get some more objections in. If that's cool.
Yep.
All right, bro. I'm going to throw another one at you here. Hey, Tyler, I appreciate you coming by, but you're wasting your time. My wife hates the way solar panels look on the roof, man.
Yeah. So have you guys ever heard of a flinch? So a flinch is your initial response to any objection, and try not to let it be like, what? Like, you don't want your energy to be real negative to come back. And so, in a sales process, there's going to be a certain number of points that you have to win to earn that customer, but you don't have to win 100% of all the points. And the look of solar on the house is one that you don't always win. Like, if someone doesn't like the look of it, I'm not going to change their mind in a second and just be like, hey, these look like plasma glass panels on the roof, whatever. And so I just say, hey, I totally get that. It's not something that everybody loves. Our goal is to make sure that we design it in a way that you guys, are really, really happy with. And it sounds like you want something that could be out of sight from the street. You don't want to be driving home from work and just have it right in front of your face. And if I already know that there's an option to put it on the back of the house or on the side of the house, I'm going to kind of talk into the options there. And then on top of that, I'm going to also isolate it and just say, hey, I totally get where you guys are coming from. If it wasn't for the looks, let's say the looks was no issue, what's your guys' opinion on solar? And so if they're like, oh, we are totally for it, we just hate where it has to go on the house. And I say, well, the bottom line is, I know I can't earn your guys' business unless the savings looks sexier than what this thing looks like on your house. Because if you guys hate the way it looks,
I like that. That
I
sounds
just
good.
have to give you a bare bones deal in order to earn your business. Because if you're going to hate the way this looks, I have to make you guys love the way the savings look in your pocket. So let me come back. I'll give you guys the best deal that I can. But on top of that, let's see if we can push this thing out of you. And I know I'm not going to earn your guys' business until I have your wife's stamp of approval on how this looks on the property. So I just give a lot of control back to them, and I acknowledge it. I don't really want to shove it in their face. And I'm going to see if I can take that negative and make the savings enough of a positive that I can overshadow that negative point. And the last thing I like to say is like, hey, and people out here, they're not going solar to save pennies. They're doing this to save tens of thousands of dollars. And if I can't shove tens of thousands of dollars in your pocket, then I know that there's no way I'm going to earn your business, no matter what this thing looks like. And so I really want them to see and hear and feel that tens of thousands of dollars, maybe it's worth looking at for that potential upside. Because maybe they've had another sales rep come by and just show them a difference of like $30 a month. So that's all they think and they see. And they're not going to move for $30. But for tens of thousands of dollars, and I'm promising big promises like, hey, and I'm even doing the big takeaway. I know I'm not going to earn your guys' business unless I can come in here and shove tens of thousands of dollars in your pocket, or else this isn't going to make any sense. Anyway, so don't try to win the point, but try to win the counter is. And
what if you win that one, but then they're like, but my spouse is not going to show up at their next appointment, so you're wasting time if you think my wife is going to be there. How do you handle that?
I just say, hey, is there any way that she could be open to this thing at all? So you leave it really, really open, and then you just tell them too, because you got to have walkaway power, and you got to decide how to spend your time. But I'm going to ask him, is she the one that's making the decision on this? Is there any way at all that she could possibly be open? If the numbers were phenomenal, is there any way she could be open at all? Then you don't waste your time where you do.
Yeah, just get her interested. Make it easy decision, right?
Yeah.
We got some comments coming in here. Let's see here. I think it was about the other comments here. Chelsea Elise, you should call them on their hypocrisy. Why do they want the government to force people to go renewable energy when they won't do it for themselves? Drop that bomb on their self-aggrandizing heads. All right. Jimenez, so write a check or take a high interest rate. People do not understand what these dealer fees are. They are rate buy downs. They want 9% interest rate, then it's 0 dealer fees. All right. And then Imran Khan said, don't like the way it looks. I agree. I personally don't like the way it looks either. Haha. But people don't go solar for the looks. They go for savings. We can put the panels where they won't be seen. Sometimes, right?
Can we go back 3? I don't know if we can go back 3, but where she talks about dropping the bomb on their head or whatever.
Yeah.
Just an important note on that is to have a lot of influence on somebody, you've got to check your ego at the door, at the sidewalk, really. So we need to feel these convictions inside of us very powerfully, but we also need to leave the ego behind. Otherwise, we start doing this with people. So just be really careful. Ego can destroy your sales career.
Very good. Even if it comes from passion of being good for the planet or whatever else, that could definitely not help you make a sale. That's for sure.
Yeah, just be careful.
All right. This is one more I wanted to throw at you because this is something door knockers get all the time. Like homeowners could be interested, but they don't want to deal with the next steps and appointments. Somebody come in their house and they always ask, hey, Tyler, can you just send me the numbers? What do you say to that homeowner?
So we're going to look behind what they're really saying is, if this customer is really interested or are they not really interested? And you need to find that out as a sales rep. So if they're saying, can you just send me some numbers? Are they just blowing you off, or are they really committed to getting numbers? And so I would just say, hey, I designed all this system for you. I'm just curious, what is it that you guys are interested in solar for? And we're going to go into a side question and kind of go back into some tie down questions. If I spend the time designing the system for you, what is it that you guys are looking to accomplish? And sounds like you're not totally shut down to solar. What is it that you guys would go solar for? And then if they're not going to answer it, you can give them a few alternative options. You can say, is it for dependability? Is it for saving money or saving the planet? Kind of give them a few options and they'll say one of the 3 and say, cool. And then you can ask another question. What's kept you guys from going solar so far? And they're like, well, busy, haven't had the chance to X, Y, and Z. Cool. Well, our job is really simple. I get all the designs drawn up and I come back at a time where I can sit down with you guys directly and just show you what we can do for you. And we're just doing this for families that are serious about the opportunity to go solar right now. So I'm just going to loop back into it. And they're not going to bring it up if you've tied them down well enough. And the reason that they're saying that is because they're either too nice to say no, or they're jumping ahead of you and making the appointment before you've made it. And so you need to pull back control and make that very clear how this process happens.
Perfect. All right. So here's the last one. Here's a wild card one for you. So that one is like a homeowner who's kind of interested, right? But you have so many people are like, solar's a scam. Do you even bother? Do you try to overcome that? Is that even overcomable, if that's a word?
Yeah. I just like to talk to people. So if someone says solar's a scam, I say, oh, all right, no worries, man. If solar's not for you, no problem. I can take off. And so we just want to pull down all the resistance right now, because this person is basically saying, I am going to fight you because I have a strong opinion and I have an ego, and you're not coming to my door to convince me today. Solar's a scam. So what we want to do is just pull all that back, and we're not going to show that we're fighting, right? We're not going to jump into it. And so, oh, hey, no problem. If solar's not for you, I'm sure I can't change your mind. I'll take off. I'm just curious, what's your opinion on solar? And all we got to do is get this guy talking, and then he's going to unravel all this stuff, which creates more opportunity to talk about it. And then you never know where this guy is going to end up. This happens all the time, where I talk to people like this, and then next thing you know, they're going solar because they like you. You make sense. You pull back the curtain on the business model, and they're like, why wouldn't I go solar? So one of the first things that I kind of learned from a Zig Ziglar conference, Zig Ziglar said, you can never change someone's mind. So if this guy says it's a scam and I say, no, it's not, no movement, I'm not changing his mind. But with new information comes a new decision. My job as a sales guy is to be an educator, to help this person receive information. And if he sees solar the exact same way that I see solar, he's going to make the same decisions that I would make. And so my whole goal here is just create an approachable relationship where my ego's at the sidewalk and I can just talk to this person. My goal is to break down whatever walls and barriers that he has, and we're just going to talk. And I'm going to pull everything out of him with really good questions. I'm going to let him feel like this is a safe place that we can chat. We're not going to engage. I'm not going to bull up on this guy and fight him. And as he does that, I'm really good at, and if you guys are educated on this, you're really good at making these points that counter everything that says solar would be a scam, right? So wherever that's coming from, we're going to start the conversation, just be like, hey man, no problem. I totally get it. Solar's not for you. I can take off. I'm just curious, what's your opinion on solar? And then that's the beginning of the conversation.
Beautifully said. I got a comment here we got to put in for this. It says, Imran Khan said, is this a scam? Yes. The scam is that you are ready for solar and you're not taking advantage of it. All right, Imran, get it in the comments. Guys, go ahead. If you have some more questions or objections you want to handle, I'm going to get in some more questions for Tyler. Tyler, are you ready, man?
Yeah.
All right. So a little bit about like being a manager now, right? Like you're not just worried about your own success. Now you're worried about not only your guys' success, but how they treat the homeowners and that. So my question to you is, how do you maintain like a great customer service experience, but from a managerial perspective?
Yeah. So I think it starts with your core values. As you start to create your business, you want to start with some foundational principles that you feel like will set the stage for success. So at Fusion Power, our core values are family first, add value, and tenacious grit. And as we hammer in to and as we exude these core values as an industry and as a company, it translates into the way that we treat our people. It translates into the way that we communicate with one another, and we give recognition to people based on family first. We have awards for family first. People acting in that core value. And so we really focus on the things that we think bring greatness to the industry, greatness to people, and greatness to the customer experience. If we're treating a customer the way that we would a family first person, whether it's your dad or your brother, you're going to treat that person differently than if you're thinking of them as a commission and a paycheck, and you're just going out there trying to get numbers and one up the guy next to you. That's not going to be an add value environment, and that's not going to be an environment that's a family first. And so kind of knowing who you want to be as an organization, what is it that you value as a business owner, manager, or someone in charge of your organization, and make sure that that message is coming across in everything you do. You should be hiring by that, running your business by that principles, and that makes decisions on a daily basis all ready for you that you don't have to redecide, because your core values are set and they're decided. So we have really, really good customer reviews. We've got, I haven't looked lately, but we're over 460 4.5-star reviews in Arizona. And, it's because we treat people that way, and we really preach that to our people. If you're going to praise the wrong things, you're going to have that wrong kind of activity happening over and over again inside your business.
That starts from the top down, right?
Yep.
We got a comment in here. So we got a Facebook user. I don't know if you want to do this. He's asking for a whole door pitch, but maybe you want to tease him with a little bit of what you sound like at the door, like a hello, or do you want to kind of skip?
Let's do it. Yeah.
Knock.
All right.
Hello.
Hey man, how's it going? I was just looking for the property owner. I'm guessing that's you.
Yeah, me. What do you want? What are you doing here?
Yeah, I'll be really quick with you. The reason I'm coming out is because a lot of people in your neighborhood out here, you've been here for a little while.
Yeah.
Okay. They've been really kind of frustrated. They're looking at alternative ways to create power, get away from the utility companies. You've probably noticed some of the families that have solar on the roof.
Oh, you're a solar guy. Yeah, I heard about it.
Sounds like you kind of know some about that.
Yeah, man, it's just way too expensive. I saw like last guy told me it was like $50,000. I just closed the door in his face.
Okay. So it sounds like you're not against solar in general, just the upfront cost.
Exactly.
Cool. Um, if you were to ever go solar in the future, what do you feel like would motivate you to do that?
If it was free, I'll be going solar for sure. Let's go.
Well, nothing's for free, right?
Nope,
Um,
sadly.
so what we do is really simple. I won't take long, but a lot of people are looking for ways to get into solar. Have you heard how people can get into it without any money down?
Yeah, they were telling me something monthly payment wise, but didn't really look into it too much.
Okay. Well, the whole point is you're paying power every month. You're paying for power every single month, and what we want to do is replace that bill with buying, either electricity or buying power off of your roof from the sun at a way cheaper rate.
Is that a lease? I don't want to lease anything.
Yeah, you want to do a purchase, right?
Yeah, well, I want to own it. I don't want to lease it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So in that case, it's really simple. I come back at another time and I show you how much power that you guys could create off of your roof. And we'll look at your utility bill and see how much power that you need for us to knock out all that power and just collect it right from the sun. So we just put a few sponges up there, a few solar sponges. We just pipe that juice right into the house. And all you're going to be doing is there's going to be a small monthly payment for that equipment. But now all that electricity off the roof is free to you. And the way that we're able to afford to get up on the roof with no money out of pocket is we're using some of the tax credits that you build in. So obviously the government's paying about 26% of the entire solar project on the roof.
Well, I heard not everybody gets that, so I was a little concerned about that.
Okay. Yeah, it depends on your tax bracket or your taxable income. Are you guys over a $60,000 household income?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So that's something you qualify for, and we'll cover that a little bit more when we come back. Bottom line is, man, I'm not going to work with you unless you meet these two major requirements. Number one is I won't work with you unless we can get solar up on the roof for no money out of pocket, or this is a bad deal for you. Number two is I won't work with you unless we can show you savings day one, or again, it's something I walk away from. Does that make sense?
Makes a lot of sense. I'm sold.
Okay.
How do you guys think? Did I make it too hard for him and make it too easy? Go put it in the comment section. Thanks, Tyler. Do a
Yeah.
little role play. So Imran Khan is joining in here, but you already answered this objection. So he already answered it. Can you just send me the information? So rewind and go to where it said, can you just send me the numbers? And he just answered that one. So go back after this is over. I have a feeling this is Danny Savage. He said, awesome, like Savage, 470 reviews. All right. Facebook said, awesome. All right, bro. Almost. I appreciate you. You have a little more time with us, or you have to get to the next appointment or anything? You good right now?
Yep, I'm good.
All right, sweet. Because you can't tell me this whole journey has been super simple, easy, and your roller coaster just goes straight up. There had to be some down points, things that didn't work out perfectly. Can you kind of go be a little vulnerable and talk about things that didn't work out so good when you initially started to how things are now?
Yeah. So when I first started selling solar, I sold I sold 16 accounts at Vivint out in New York, and in Albany. And out of my first 16 accounts, I sold 13 canceled. And so, but I was,
that's like an 85% cancellation rate.
and we had just opened the market. Nobody was doing solar out there in Albany. I think Vivint was the very first person out there. So we're walking out in these streets and not a single house has solar on it. And obviously everyone's getting cold feet and, they're worried about being the first ones to be taken. But my mindset was awesome. I know that I can get a ton of accounts in the pipeline. Now I need to just get better at the next part, which is selling people better. And I knew that if I had the tenacity to go do the work, I had the ability to get people signing paperwork and agreeing up front. I just knew the next step was to hone my process. And so I didn't throw everything out. I didn't say, this sucks. I'm never going to make money. This is going to be my life. It was like, okay, no problem. I'll just now I need to do the next thing. I know I'm doing something wrong, so let me just focus on that, and that improved. And so that went from me doing that to having a very successful solar experience out there with Vivint, and then transitioning back to Arizona, where I ended up working with another company locally here. I was a sales manager for them, and all I did, man, was just work really hard and try to figure it out. But one of the challenges for people doing solar is just not putting in the extra time when you go home from the doors. And so I think that one thing that was really, really helpful for me is I record myself on the door, because when I'm driving home from area that day, I want to listen back to myself to those doors that I'm not getting and realize, wow, I didn't even listen to what that guy said. I totally missed this. I totally missed that. And so it gives me a whole different sense of awareness. And like, I literally lay in bed at night and replay the words that I've been saying to people on the door, and replay these experiences in my head, because I've listened to the recordings and I'm thinking, okay, what would I re-say here? And when I'm finding that I have a pattern of getting hung up on objections, I look forward to those objections coming up again, because I've replayed them, that tape in my head, so many times that when it comes up again, that I have, the ability to overcome those. So re-listening to your door pitch, recording your door pitch, recording your closes. And another thing that you're going to have a challenge with is expectations of yourself. And so at times in your performance, you're going to perform lower than what your expectation is. And our knee-jerk reaction is just to kind of let go and redefine yourself and say, I suck. I'm not as good as this person or this and that. And so it's really important to be graceful with yourself. I think I've seen so many people give up too quick and not give themselves the grace that they need to fail, and give yourself permission to kind of suck it up sometimes and be like, dude, I'm freaking in the rut right now, but don't stop there and just keep going. I've been in terrible ruts in my life, and you come out of them, but don't let that redefine you and say, I'm this person because I'm here right now. So, and then some of the other challenges that you guys are going to be getting into leadership, management, or owning businesses. One of those biggest struggles is going to be your relationship management. It's sometimes, business is like a marriage, and working with everyone around you is, you just got to stay in check and remember that we're there to add value to other people. These people they don't really work for you. They're choosing to work for you because of the value that you give them. And so always check yourself, check your ego. We aren't entitled to anything. Our goal is to add enough value to other people that they want to add value back. So keep your relationships in check, be humble, share your heart with people, and take care of those relationships around you, because in business, and if you want to grow anything significant, you have to really learn how to have good relationships and keep that in check with everyone around you to grow. That's been some of the hardest part of growth, is those relationships. And then stumbling along in the journey, one of the things that was really, really helpful for us was this last year, we implemented the EOS system. So we read the book Traction, and the Entrepreneur Operating System gives you an exact blueprint on how to run a business the right way, or at least a successful way. And a lot of us, we stumble through this thing until we realize that we have something significant, and we're like, okay, we kind of need a little bit more than just what we figured out at this point. So reaching out to mentors, reaching out to people that are doing things at a higher level, and staying humble and teachable is really, really important, I think, to get yourself to that next level. And then, just realizing that if you're not getting beat up, if you don't want to cry sometimes, and if you're not feeling, some sense of self-doubt or disappointment, you might not be playing on the court. A lot of people want to sit in the stands where it's safe, and they're observing the game and they're commenting on the game, but they're actually not even on the court. They're not really even playing. And that's where you're feeling vulnerable, you're feeling beat up and scared, and you're taking on the challenges. But that's also where the wins are. And that's where the people that actually playing the game are experiencing the growth of that. And so don't worry about the people in the stands who are judging you and defining you and yelling at you for how you're playing. Just get on the court and do whatever it takes to be in the game and be raw, and take the plunge, take the challenge to do something great. You guys won't regret it.
Man, I don't regret you having on this live stream. You are just dropping some value for the audience, man. That was awesome. If you guys didn't hear that, rewind it and watch it again after the replays here. And I only got a few minutes left with you, so I'm gonna try to extract even some more gold nuggets from you. So if you don't mind,
Yeah.
while I have you on here, I know you're a killer door knocker. And a lot of guys out there are struggling or want some tips. Any like special strategies, anything, any tips, anything you give to these door knockers out there hustling?
Yeah. The buddy system can be really helpful. If you guys are finding it really hard to get out there, sometimes the hardest door is your car door, right? You get out to area and you just don't want to leave, or you don't even want to leave your house. So you kind of have to play mind tricks with yourself. So when I was having a really hard time, I just made a goal with my wife and I said, hey, I have a goal. And so you have to share it with somebody, an accountability partner. It doesn't have to be your wife or your spouse. It can be, someone else at work. It could be your manager, whoever, but just make it really simple. So I had a goal every day that my knuckles have to hit one door. And I remember it was like 5:30 at night and it was in the wintertime. And so it was getting really dark. And I told my wife I was disappointed with myself because I didn't get out that day. And I was like, dang it, I didn't do it. She's like, well, you still have time. I'm like, well, it's dark and whatever. And so, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be really frustrated if I don't just put my knuckles on one door. So I got in my car and I was driving out to my area and it was pitch black at this point. And I looked out my window and I could see the stars. So I pulled over to the side of the road and I was like, this is dumb. Like there's no reason to waste my time. I'm just gonna turn around. But then I thought I'll feel better about myself if I just put my knuckles on one door. So I ended up pulling into my neighborhood that I had been working. I was driving through the neighborhood and I looked for a house that had lights on, and I got out of my car and I went and I knocked on the door, and this guy answered, and his name was John, and John wanted solar, and he was a lay down. I sold this guy.
Yes.
And turns out he's like, hey, my neighbor's been looking at solar too. He's a really smart guy. Go talk to him tomorrow. And so first thing tomorrow, the next morning, I went out and I talked to his neighbor. But and that it's a domino effect, but it does several things. One, it keeps you pacing. So momentum is very, very important. When you guys are good salesmen, it's really easy for us to sell ourselves. So keeping momentum, keeping commitments with yourself, and keeping your word on your commitments. Discipline is greater than motivation. There's not a salesman in the world that feels stoked and motivated every day to go out and work or knock doors. And if they tell you that that's a lie. So discipline is greater than motivation. If you can stay disciplined, you can stay consistent enough to make, continue to grow. And then the momentum is exponential. And so if you can keep your momentum up, deals add to more deals and your confidence grows, and referrals lead to referrals. So my tip is, Joe, sorry, this is long-winded, but just make a small goal every day that you can do. It's the same philosophy as doing one push-up a day, right? You get down to do that one push-up. And so it's just knock on that door every day, just knock on one door or whatever it is. Sometimes it's, hey, I'm not going to go home until I have 2 appointments. And that's it. And every day, it's, hey, as soon as I have my 2 appointments, you give yourself that permission to go home, but you might find you're going to create 2, 3, or 4 appointments. But just those little mini habits are what help you win those mental battles that can, crush you sometimes.
Perfect. I know my promise was to keep this under an hour, so I will try to keep my promise to you, man. And thank you for dropping so many nuggets and value. I mean, we're getting so many comments. Thank you. Imran just put, thank you, Joe and Tyler. It's great help. Appreciate you guys. Keep on continuing making these types of videos. You got it, Imran Khan. We'll get out there more videos for you. One question before, I know we talked about solar and door-to-door and business, but I want the audience to get to know you. I want to get to know you a little bit more. Tell me something about yourself, hobbies. What kind of hobbies you have outside of, business?
Yeah. I freaking love the outdoors. I love being outside. I love camping with my kids. We have these little, portable bunk beds that we put up in our tent, and the kids love it. I'm a very creative person. I love videography, photography, and just create memories with my kids. And so whatever that looks like, if it's building ramps in the garage with my kids to go out and jump their BMX bikes, or if it's doing some kind of remote control, hobby with my kids. I love home theater. I love home audio. I love really high-end audio equipment. I love building stuff. I love music. I love going out to the movies. That's one of my favorite things to do with my family. And we just recently bought a property that's 2 acres. And the thing I love about it is it feels like we're out in the woods. We've got 52 trees on the property, and we can just run out there with the kids. And they were, making ramps in the back in the dirt the other day. I just love that stuff. And so being outside is my favorite.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much for making time here. What's next for you, man? What do you see? What's next for Tyler? You've been doing so many big things, especially with Fusion Power. What's next for you, man? What are you looking at coming up?
Yeah. Well, next is SolarCon. I'm really excited about
SolarCon, baby. Let's go. You should be on the bottom here. If you guys haven't got your tickets yet, go here. It's time. Attend SolarCon.com. Go get it, baby.
So one of the things that I learned from one of the sharks on Shark Tank is he talked about the value of partnerships. And to me, it's just the value of really partnering and learning knowledge, gleaning knowledge from other people inside the industry that are doing things in a big way. I think it's really important to connect with those people and to learn from those people and to stay humble. There's people in the industry that are doing things in a big way, similar to us. And I try to stay open and connect with those people and just say, hey, what do you guys find that's working for you? And I'm an open book, and I share what's working for me. So I think being really open and just sharing is super important. And what's next for Fusion Power is we're continuing to expand. We're spending time focusing on our inside call center so that we can reach out and get access to a lot of markets. And then on top of that, we have a lot of leadership growth that we're building inside of our company. So helping guys rise up, that's the thing I get the most joy of, is helping other people do this at a really high level, and helping people, I love seeing the success that people have from my impact. So continuing to grow the company and adding value to families inside Fusion.
I can see that. Give it value. You got a couple more comments of more thank yous. Thank you. Thank you, guys. So that pretty much brings us to the end. Before we go, is there any last thoughts you want to drop with the audience? Anything you want to leave off with them?
I'm an open book. I've been training inside my company 2 times a week for the last 5 years. I love training. If you guys have any questions, I'd love to have you reach out to me. Hit me up in my inbox. Hit me up on Facebook. Training is something that I'm really, really passionate about, and I like helping people, walk through any challenges they have. I feel like we've been really successful at building a sales company. I've had a lot of people ask me, the do's and don'ts of building a dealership at a high successful capacity. I'd love to share any thoughts with you guys on that. And then we've built a very successful install company this last year and have installed a lot of megawatts our first year in business, and we learned a lot. So again, any questions you guys have, I'm an open book. I would love to add value to any of you guys that want to chat.
How can they reach out to you if they want to?
Yeah, hit me up on Instagram, Tyler McAllister, or Fusion Power. Sorry, not Fusion. Hit me up on my personal Facebook page, and you can message me right there. You guys can reach out to me on my email. It's linked on my bio on Facebook.
And don't forget, everybody, SolarCon, baby. Tyler McAllister is going to be a keynote speaker. So if you like what you've heard, you're going to love hearing him at SolarCon. So if you haven't got your tickets, go to attend SolarCon.com and get your tickets right now, baby. And last comments, you got more thank yous. You're the best. Thank you for your time. So a lot of people appreciate you being on here, Tyler. Thank you so much for doing this, man. I am excited to talk to you more, work with you more for SolarCon, hearing you out there, seeing you out there. It was nice talking to you, man.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate all you do for the industry as well and the value that you share. Thanks for letting me on.
Appreciate it. Let's go. We're out.